On the women's side, Nadia Comaneci came to town a determined young woman, 15 pounds lighter than a year ago, determined to win the all-around world title that has escaped her up to now. But a small mark on her hand grew into a dangerous infection. She gave it a try in the team competition, but had to retire after the balance beam. It would be wait till next year and the Olympics for Nadia. This development opens the door now for an appealing 22-year-old veteran from the Soviet Union, Nellie Kim. From Fort Worth, Texas, then, stand by for the men's and women's individual all-around competition in the 20th World Gymnastics Championships on ABC's Wide World of Sports. The eyes of are on the stars of the gymnastics world. Tarrant County Convention Center, Fort Worth, Texas. For the first time ever, the World Championships of Gymnastics are being held outside the European continent. And they've chosen to come to Fort Worth. 33 countries in all, more than 600 athletes. Good afternoon. I'm Jim McKay, welcoming you to these championships. The crowd, as you saw, is still filing in for the men's individual all-around competition, but it's been just about capacity crowds every night this week. A big hit here in Texas. You know, we first started going to these championships, really these international competitions in gymnastics, to see the famous Russians, the famous Japanese, and later on the Romanians. But now the Americans are very much a factor, very much competitive, as you'll be seeing, particularly as the men's competition goes along. Let's bring in right now, however, a young lady who was the heroine in 1970 for the United States, the first time we ever covered a world championship in Ljubljana, Yugoslavia, Kathy Rigby Mason. Well, the ladies' competition is as close as ever, but it's a slightly different story with some negative aspects, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Because of some injuries in the competition, we have a few out. In fact, last year's world champion, Elena Mukina, will not be here because we understand she broke her leg. Also, during the compulsory competition, Nadia Comaneci sustained an injury to her wrist, I believe. So the #1 position at this time is being held by Nellie Kim, and she has a good chance for the all-around at this time, leading this competition. She's hungry for that all-around because she's been overshadowed for so many years by Olga Korbut, Ludmila Teresheva, Elena Mukina, and of course Nadia Comaneci. This could be her time.
This time it looks like at long last the rest of the world will be seeing Nellie home, huh? Let's bring in now our expert on the mayor in Fort Worth, Texas, and the 20th World Gymnastics Championships. Remember, it's the first time they've ever been held in America. In fact, it's the first time they've ever been held anywhere except on the European continent. The excitement here has been growing all week long. It's really been a fascinating place to be. I'm Jim McKay, and with me now is Kathy Rigby Mason, because we're about to move to the women's individual all-around competition. You know, Kathy, a lot of people seem to think that gymnastics is not really a physical sport, not a contact sport. And of course, there isn't any contact except with the equipment and with your own muscles, but there are a lot of injuries, a lot of illness situations, and we've seen a lot of that in the women's competition here.
That's exactly right. Well, last year's world champion, Ellen Mukina, could not make this trip because of a knee injury. Also, our own Rhonda Schwant would have been in this competition had she not had a knee injury. Also, Susie Kellums and also Marsha Fredericks from the United States, both plagued with ankle injuries. Also, our own Kathy Johnson, unfortunately, will not be able to compete tonight because of an illness, so there is a lot of it going around. And, of course, Nadia Comaneci is out because of a wrist injury.
Well, as in anything worthwhile, nobody ever said it would be easy. Nobody ever said it would be permanent, either. In the Munich Olympics of 1972, Olga Korbut was the newest name and the most explosive personality in international sport. A teenage gold medalist with a smile that charmed by satellite from Moscow to Miami. But 4 years later, this was Olga in Montreal. The strain of competition, constant travel, and a spotlight that never seemed to dim had obviously taken their toll on her. You grow up fast in international sport, but if you're pushed too hard, you grow old fast, too. The bright-eyed kid now looked like a little old lady. Sport crystallizes for us the inevitability of the passage of time. Nadia Comaneci of Romania had been an unheard-of 10-year-old when Olga made history in Munich. Now it was her turn for overnight world fame. She had given more advance notice of her talent than Olga had. Still, no one was prepared for what she did in the Montreal Games. This performance was given a perfect mark of 10, the first ever awarded in Olympic competition. Having reached perfection, Nadia now became a phenomenon. In event after event, she scored 10 after 10. By the time the competition had ended, she had 7 perfect marks in all. Most experts think that we will never see such marks again. Olga had become the past. Nadia was the present. But the present becomes the past so quickly. By last year's World Championships in France, Nadia had matured in mind and body, but her 20 additional pounds slowed her down. There were no more tens. The cheers now sounded nostalgic. But Nadia's tough. Last spring in Tokyo, a slender-eyed, whip-thin Nadia appeared. She wasn't performing from memory this time, but with determination. This floor exercise belied the old maxim that they never come back, because Nadia, in the opinion of the judges, had returned to the stratosphere of perfection. They gave her a 10. It was just like the good old days of Montreal. And yet for her, Tokyo was to be but a way station on her way to Fort Worth. One thing had still escaped her, an individual all-around world championship. And so she arrived at these world championships even thinner than at Tokyo, 15 pounds under her weight of a year ago. Some thought she looked too thin, too drawn, but her performance on the opening day was dazzling. She took a big lead and looked like a shoo-in for the title. But sport, like life, deals in the unexpected. Nadia suddenly was taken to the hospital with a badly infected wrist. These are still pictures of her there. The doctor said the injury was a serious one. But the next day, she left the hospital, her face as unsmiling, as inscrutable as ever. It was announced that she would give it a try, and so she did. She competed in only one of 4 events, but helped her country to its first team title. The individual title was gone. Nadia had lost not to an opponent, but to a poisonous bit of life visible only under a microscope. Bacteria had accomplished what the other competitors had not. Now the girl who had heard deafening roars in Montreal heard a single child's voice call from the stands, "We still love you, Nadia." It was nostalgia time, all right, as it had been for Olga. You grow up fast in international sport, and sometimes you fade like an autumn flower at the first frost. But there are hardy perennials, too. Such a one is Nellie Kim. For years, she has performed in the shadow of Ludmila Tereshcheva and Olga and Nadia. She has had her 10s and her titles, but always someone else was the star. Now time and circumstance have brought her moment. Ludmila and Olga are out of the sport. Nadia sits on the sidelines. It will be Nellie Kim, center stage, in the spotlight, all alone. 4 events in women's individual all-around, as opposed to the 6 we saw in the men's. Here are the standings right now. Nellie, followed by Maxi Ganauk. The best American is Susie Kellens, who is 16. Here we go. Let's move now to Nellie Kim of the Soviet Union, the leader in this competition.
Let's see if Nellie will do her layout Tsukahara. Very nice. She was long on that vault. Just a slight pike on the end. Not too bad. She could have used a little more height.
Nellie trying for that first all-around world championship, an Olympic gold medalist. She had a 10 at Montreal, but still was in the shadow. Nadia Comaneci.
Nellie does a good vault here, but as I said, she needs a little bit more punch off that horse. She lays out her body for a long time and ends up having to pike because of a lack of rotation.
It's only the music that you're hearing there is for another competitor on the floor exercise, and there is the mark, 9.85. Good, solid mark for Nellie Kim. But if Nellie has become the present, the future is already on the way. Here now is Maxi Ganauk of East Germany. She's in second place right now. A performance of 9.95 here on the floor exercise could move her into a tie for the lead with Nellie Kim. That's a tough mark to get.
Jim,
but the East Germans think she's their best prospect in a long time. Yes, Kathy?
Jim, excuse me. This is one of the finest tumblers you'll see. Watch this opening run. A full twisting, double back salto.
Wow.
Beautiful. She never loses endurance at all. Her dance could be improved on a little bit, but I tell you, I've never seen a stronger tumbler, and it doesn't look like she could tumble with those tiny little legs.
And this, I believe, is her best event, isn't it? Floor exercise.
Well, she's good on all 4. She doesn't have any bad events. I would say the uneven bars are probably her best event, but like I said, she has no bad ones. Real up-and-comer for the East German team. Now she does, not only does she full twisting double back, she does a triple here. Watch this. Triple twist.
Wow.
One of the few in the meet, if not the only one.
That 9.95 might not be out of reach here.
Not at all. And for her last tumbling run, she'll do an even difficult vault again. She'll do a double back salto or a double back flip. Both names correct. Arabian, she does a double twist, changed her mind. Both runs exceptionally good.
The crowd sure was concentrating on that one. Little Maxi Ganauk of East Germany.
Let's see if you can count how many times she turns.
Okay, we're watching, and here comes the mark. 9.90, an excellent mark for Moxie Ganauk. She's not going to fold easily under the onslaught of Nellie Kim. We'll be right back with more. There is the leader in the women's individual all-around competition, Nellie Kim of the Soviet Union, but by a very narrow margin. Let's take a look at the standings. Nellie only by 25 1/1000ths over Moxie Ganauk, and then in the battle for third, Maria Filatova by 25 1/1000ths over Melita Rune of Romania. Now we move to the second of the four events in the women's individual all-around final, and this is Melita Rune of Romania. Remember, in fourth place, but by that extremely narrow margin. Rune from Romania.
Excuse me, one of the things they practice is landing that vault without stepping. Let's see if she can do it. That's a half-on back, beautiful landing.
Melita Rune.
Great punch off that horse. One of the things we were talking about earlier, Jim, is run is so important. You have to build enough speed, as you'll see she does here. Enough speed, jam your body in a straight line into that horse, as you can see right here. She does a half-on, another half with a front flip. Stretch those legs out, perfect land. Well, almost a perfect landing. Slight step there.
Here's her mark. 9.80. Now we're going to see one of the Americans. This is Susie Kellum. Susie doing very well here, but not the way they had hoped.
Jim, this is her first big championship, and she's done extremely well for the United States, working well here also.
17 years old from Westminster, California, tied for 22nd coming into this final phase.
She has great form, stretches every move to the fullest, right to the handstand. One of the things the judges are looking for. Little trouble there. I think she meant to make a stomach work, but she's continuing on. One of the things that's so important is to keep that routine going no matter what happens. Front with a oops. Didn't have quite enough rotation on that or height to get all the way around there. Looked like she, excuse me, Jim, looked like she had a little trouble on that one handstand and kind of lost momentum after that.
So three-point landing, and they preferred two. Now here is Maria Filatova. She's coming up next. Remember, she's in third place by a very small margin from Melita Rune. Just did extremely well. Susie Kellum's there, waiting for her mark. Ooh, not so good. 9.00. But now here is Filatova. This is one of her best exercises, the free exercises, or floor exercises. This and the balance beam are the ones in which she's extremely good. And the reason I think Kathy agrees, is because of her tremendous grace and the beautiful way she uses not only her body, but her hands and even her facial expression. Watch Maria Filatova now. She needs a 9.8 to stay ahead of Melita Rune. Here comes the beauty.
Loves to get that facial expression, body movement in there.
Toe dancing.
Yes.
Very much the Russian balletic influence here.
She plays to that crowd.
In a very different way than Olga Korbut did.
Exactly. You know, some gymnasts think that if you smile to an audience or you know, hold your chest up and wave your arms around, that's being dramatic and that's being expressive in a routine. But she really shows in her facial expressions and body movements together exactly what's needed. Very much like a prima ballerina.
And works with her music beautifully here, very
Yes.
much like a great figure skater.
Yes. Jim, she's an excellent tumbler as well. This will be her second tumbling run. Whip over, flip-flop to a double twist.
And she presents it. She'll almost let you know what's coming, that this is important.
Yes, and this is where she takes a breather as well. I'm sorry, this is her last tumbling run, a double pike. Landed it fairly well, a little pike on the end. But look at this end. Is that not dramatic?
Okay. Maria Filatova. Is that a 9.8 or better by you? Well,
Looks like it.
well, we'll find out if she got that mark and held on to third place in a minute.